What's going on, everybody? Gorgeous George checking in here on a Monday afternoon. Just kind of finished all my work for the day. Still have a few things to do, but my most pertinent stuff is done. And now I can kind of like relax and talk a little bit. Oh man, that Nate Diaz Mike Perry announcement came out of nowhere. And it happened, at least the time it was breaking, it was right as our show was starting this morning. Spinning back like every Monday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Catch it live on our YouTube channel over at MMA Junkie. And so I was in a panic because I kind of had a format, a script. We wanted to go over the fights that had just taken place in Las Vegas with Kevin Vallejos defeating Josh Emmett, Julia Robertson defeating Amanda Lemos, and so on. And all of a sudden, this is thrown at me. And I'm trying to figure out, is it official or is this, you know, group chat on our work Slack, right? Where we sometimes talk about the things that we've heard, we've just yet to confirm, but we're 99% certain it'll take place. And finally, we got the approval, so we had to make a quick pivot. And because it's a 1 hour show and it's live, there wasn't really much for me to add to it. That's what the panelists are for. So now I get a chance to talk about it and unpack it a little bit. So it's Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry at the MVP card that's taking place May 16th in Los Angeles. So that's Jake Paul's promotions. And he's doing an MMA card for the first time. And if you'll recall, I think I tripped about this last week. It's the one with Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano in the main event. Francis Ngannou against Felipe Lins in the co-main event, I think. And now you got Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry. And I'm thinking, I'll take it. Who wouldn't? And it's free on Netflix. I say free now because if you have Paramount Plus and Netflix, it's free. You weren't counting on it when you got those channels, right? I think most of us, I consider it free, but whatever. I guess if it costs you $10 a month, that's what it costs you. Now I'm going with free. And I mean, this is a win-win, honestly. But all right, I'm not a naysayer. I'm not a devil's advocate. Not always, but I do just like to think the future and beyond. Could this fight have been held for the MVP MMA card number 2, we'll call it? Because I think that first one's going to be a home run. So is it a one and done? Or are they going to try and build it? Because this would have been a nice headliner for number 2. I think if you have a nice 1-2 punch, then just give us some good fights underneath and we'll take it. Again, who are we to complain? We're not paying for it. It's not an $80 pay-per-view or a $100 pay-per-view. It's just fights on Netflix or Paramount Plus when it comes to the UFC. So why not start prepping your next card? But they're spoiling us. I think what they want to do is make such a big splash that they break record numbers, and kind of shove it in the UFC's face. And I'm here to say that I'm kind of all in for that, but only from the sense of it's competition and it'll push the UFC to become better. The same way the UFC pushes everyone else to become better, but they're so far above and beyond everyone else that it's really hard to be mentioned in the same breath as them. But Netflix is doing something pretty cool. Now, look, at the end of the day, let's be honest. I'm pretty sure Ronda Rousey mows through Gina Carano. A takedown or a judo toss, armbar, done. And I'm pretty sure Francis Ngannou has a good chance of knocking out Felipe Lens. This one's going to be a little bit more even. 2 of the panelists on today's Spinning Back Click said they're taking Mike Perry. Danny Segura, Nolan King went with Nate Diaz. I have to be honest. Nate Diaz, I don't know if he just has the wrestling to put Mike Perry down and work some top game jiu-jitsu. And if they just throw hands, Mike Perry definitely's got the harder hands and he's a bigger boy. But Nate Diaz is longer, rangier, and has pretty good boxing. Not the hardest hitter, but the volume is incredible. Plus, that jujitsu game's tight. So if they get locked up against the corner, or sorry, against the cage, maybe he goes for front chokes, guillotines. Who knows? So I think it'll be close, but I suppose if that gun's to my head and my life depends on it, I think I might go with a bigger guy. And it pains me too because I'm a West Coast guy, right? West Coast baby. So I want Nate to win, but I don't know. We'll have plenty of time to check it out, unpack it, break it down. We're still actually today makes it 2 months away from that fight. It's May 16th at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, California. Good card. I expect more fight bookings. Do I want it to be an epic card with more talent? Sure, right? Because the fans that pay, they deserve it. I'm lucky because I'm media, and if I get to go, it's free for me. And if not, then I might be doing a watch along at home or just watching it and enjoying. But anyone that pays their hard earned money should get the best card possible. At the same time, I don't want Netflix to be affliction, or sorry, MVP to be affliction, where it's two and done, right? Let's see if they're going to sustain. If they get a lot of eyeballs and a lot of traction, why not? Why can't this be something where they do 4 tentpole events per year? Just really, really solid cards, right? I think it'd be interesting. But yeah, I don't know why I thought immediately could this have just been saved for a second card. Mm, well, you can tell I want them to stick around. And I don't know how many fights Ronda's got in her or Francis has in them. But what I do know is there's plenty of bodies that are out there that fans will still pay to watch. So I don't know if they can just repeat a card like this and stack it with that type of talent. And I don't even know what kind of checks they're writing. But I will tell you this. I think his name is Nikisa Bedarian, right? He works with Jake Paul. He's kind of like the suit. He worked for the UFC. So I think he's very familiar what the going rate is and how to put on a show that makes the fighters money and makes the promotion money so that everyone's happy and everyone sticks around. Hopefully without uh breaking the bank for the fans, right? You don't want a fan to use half of their savings on a card like this. But that's kind of what the UFC's done. The UFC's got some high prices. WWE too, the big events. Whew, you ever seen what it costs to go to one of those events? It's up there, man. So, it's only show number one. Let's give them this show for one, and anything that they say at the press conference where they can hopefully reveal what the future is. Will they do a second one in 2026? Or is it one and done? We're out. We're going to stick to boxing because that's basically where all this started was Jake Paul boxing. He's boxed both of them, by the way, and he's beaten both of them. Hell, he once wanted to fight Francis Ngannou. I don't know if that changed though after the brutal KO by Anthony Joshua. There's a big size difference there, right? With those big dudes. And Francis is just as big and a hard hitter as Anthony Joshua. He's just probably not as fluid because he hasn't boxed professionally as long as Anthony Joshua, but he still hits pretty damn hard. If I'm Jake Paul, I stay away. You take your broken jaw, your big paycheck, and just say, I did it, right? And look for guys like Mike Perry, Nate Diaz, Anderson Silva, who he's done well against, Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, maybe ask George Masvidal to box. Who knows? I think he can do that for as long as he wants. He honestly doesn't have to become world champion. I know he wants to, but I just I don't know what that would get him. I guess it'd be a question to ask him, right? What would you get with the belt? On the one hand, you got fighters like Francis Ngannou saying, legacy, forget about that. I want the money. And Jake Paul, I think, already has the money, so he's looking for something. But again, will it be a proper belt, a proper WBA, IBF, WBC, Ring Magazine? He's not going to do nothing with Zuffa, right? So what WBL? Will it be one of those sanctioning bodies, one of those belts, and will that maybe allow him to just retire in peace? I don't know. But back to Diaz and Perry. I hope if they are getting paid well, they train hard, put on a good show, Don't look like a shadow of yourself. That way we can want to see you again. Now, of the two, I would say Diaz is the one I'm more scared of. He hasn't fought that frequently. Even when he fought Conor McGregor twice in 2016, he waited 3 years to come back until he fought Anthony Pettis. And then he fought, I think it was Jorge Masvidal after that. And if I'm not mistaken, Leon Edwards, Tony Ferguson. But those last two fights had like a year and a half off between them. And yeah, the money's better. Who wants to get up and run at 5 a.m., right? When you're in silk pajamas inside of a bed with silk sheets. Did I just butcher it? Who knows? It's something like that, though. And then he boxed Jorge Masvidal and Jake Paul. But now he's 40 and he'll be 41 by the time he fights. Now he does lead a clean lifestyle. He eats organically. He runs, he does triathlons, he trains. He doesn't really abuse the body with, hard drugs or drinking. And like I say, he eats a very clean diet, an expensive diet from what I hear. So I think that 40, 41 might be closer to 35. But still, Mike Perry's been in the trenches these last few years. And he's been doing pretty good. So he'll have the age on his side. LA's in Cali. Nate's holding down Cali. NorCal and SoCal are rivals in some stuff. But I think the Angelinos will back Nate Diaz. There's a lot of love for Mike Perry, though. So I expect the fans to just be vocal. I expect this to be a sellout. I think they're hitting a home run so far. But I guess I'm curious what your reaction is to all this. Leave it in the comments. Leave them in the comments and I'll reply. I think every video I've done, I've replied in all the comments. And I appreciate every single one because they're not joking. When you first start on YouTube, it seems easy. And you start and sure, you can make it easy. But if you really want it to succeed, you got to kind of go over some of those finer details. And if some of those finer details just require you getting out of your comfort zone, right? Reading, watching, discussing. Sometimes it's not at the top of the list of things you want to do, but we got to do it. But now seeing those comments and seeing that someone appreciates, right? Because the views are low. We're just starting out. I'm still in the preseason. This is technically GG number 6 preseason. Working their way through kinks, better video, better sound, right? And putting it all together. But rather than work on it behind the scenes, we wanted to just start publishing shows, putting them out, and hammering them this way. But that's when I think I'll feel comfortable. I think I said now a first 5, and I think I'm going to get to 10, where I can now go on my social media and go, hey, the ball's rolling. We got most of the kinks worked out, and now I think you can check out a quality show where I can talk about everything through my lenses, through my experience, how I feel about these types of fights. Like I say, I enjoy them. I really do. And I'm happy for the fighters that they can make the money. I just want the long term to be for there to be an option for these fighters to do the same. I can't control. They're adult men and women, grown ass men and women. I can't control what they do, but I would hope that they'd be smart enough to look out for themselves. History teaches us everything. The precedents are set. You see a lot of boxers and MMA fighters who sometimes speak a little slower, have trouble remembering, putting together sentences. I don't want that for them. But if they're healthy, sure, and the money's there and the longevity of the promotion's there so that there can be more competition, more events, more options, yes, all for it. Now, I think some of the bitterness that you might hear from time to time from me and other people is just that why aren't they getting it from the juggernaut, which is the UFC, which is worth a ton of money, right? But I've talked about this before. The UFC is just they're not gonna write checks for no reason. You have to hold some leverage. You have to catch them at the right time. And the even bigger discussion would be, which I've touched on before, is you just got to band together and ask for better pay, better working conditions as a collective group, which will probably never happen. But still, that's just the solution. And I'll bring it up from time to time. So for now, you'll all go in there one-on-one against the UFC and just try and get a deal. I heard Alex Pereira got a deal today, a new deal. He says he's extremely happy and the UFC is really taking care of him. Now, I wonder, did he go in there and say, what's Conor Ben making? The new Zuffa boxing signing? That's what I want. I don't know if he could pull off 15 million a year, but I know that they love him. The fans love him. The UFC loves him. So if they're gonna bend over backwards for someone, it probably would be him. Apparently, it wasn't John Jones, and apparently, it wasn't Conor McGregor. No, that doesn't mean that they offered him 1 million and a high five. I'm sure it was more, but it's not what those guys wanted. So anyway, all right. I'm gonna bow out of here. I'm messing around with different times of limits on the shows that I put out. I think I did one that was 28 minutes, 23 minutes. One of the first was 10 minutes. And this one we're sitting around 15, 45, 46, 47. We'll call it 16 minutes and see how it goes as we figure out the algorithms, the metrics, what makes sense. But if you guys watch this, the longer you watch it, the better. The likes, the subscribe, the shares, they mean a ton. Just leaving a comment with that thumbs up, with the heart, whatever, I will try and get back in there as well. Reply to me, tell me what you think of the video, tell me what you think of the discussion. And I think that would be very cool. Now, to close out the show, I just want to dedicate the show, and I'm probably going to retread some of these because I want them to be on the official shows, not just the preseason, but this is me working things out, right? Just like the NFL teams would do in the preseason. Starting quarterback goes out for a couple series, and they bring in the number 2 and the number 3, and you're trying different things for the regular season, which is what I'm doing. But it doesn't mean those games aren't important, that we're not learning things. So this one's dedicated to my friend Mike Johnson. We call him Elvis. I met him on the first day of high school, and that dude has made me laugh probably more than anyone I've ever met. He's he's really, really funny. He probably was doing roasts before roasts were a thing, at least amongst friends, right? I mean, I know that the roasts go back, back to the Dean Martin days and Sammy Davis Jr. and Don Rickles. But what I mean is the more common ones, right, that are you see on TV on Comedy Central, and not necessarily having to do with the old Rat Pack. These are anyone and everyone. Not anyone, but still, it's been quite a variety of names. That one with Tom Brady was crazy. But all right, I did say 16, and we're now at 17, so we're done. Don't just take up space on this planet. I always tell you, do everything to the best of your ability. Go out and be a champion. Be champions, like they say.